Everybody needs to understand that I'm more than simply a hype man for this rap group, just like Geico is more than just a company that can save you money. Geico also has fast and friendly claim service, so they can help you when you need it most. And while I do love being a hype man, I also love reading for children's audiobooks. Like Little Bo Peep, she lost a sheep, and she don't know where to find them. Yo!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Within the Chaos with your host,
Rodney Shortridge,
and co-host,
Robin Dalton.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. You can listen in by going to blogtalkradio.com/Within the Chaos, or you can call in and listen in to ask any questions to our guest at 323-870-4197. From deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you again for joining us tonight and to Within the Chaos. My name is Rodney Shortridge, and I'll be your host tonight, along with my fiery redhead co-host, Robin Dalton.
Hey, y'all.
Tonight, our special guest is Steve Hudgeons Jr. Steve is a U.S. Navy and U.S. Navy Reserve veteran, MUFON Texas Senior Field Investigator, part of the STAR team, MUFON State Director of Texas, Director of Investigations for MUFON, Community Service, construction estimator, draftsman, and owner of Affinity Industries. So, Robin?
Yes.
How was your week?
Well, so far it's very tiring, but okay. Still trying to recover from turkey coma from last week. How was your Thanksgiving?
It It was good. Not many here, but it was good. Been doing a lot of stuff around the house, getting some lights and decorations up for the grandkids. And also,
I get some of them up, but not much.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to go out this year for them. And it reminds me, I got a little announcement that where I'm part of Creative Photography Club, we'll be doing our Santa Christmas photos starting tomorrow at Burke's Outlet in Princeton, West Virginia. We'll be there, like I said, tomorrow, December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So everybody come on out and get your pictures with Santa or family or however you want to do it. Hey, we do a great job, $20 for a CD, and I'm ready to start that, and let's get this holiday season going.
You're so jolly.
Huh?
I said, you're so jolly.
I love Christmas time. I do. I love it. I'm like a kid. Well, I won't waste no more time. Let's get our special guest in here. Steve, are you there?
I most certainly am. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you, sir?
I'm doing great, too. Every day I wake up above the dirt, I'm doing great.
That's exactly right. A good day above ground is a good day.
Yes, it is. It's not so dirty that way.
Well, first off, sir, I want to thank you for your service to our country. I greatly appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well,
it was so long ago, I've already forgotten most of it.
That sounds like my doctor. He was a Navy doctor, and every time I try to talk to him about some of it, he'll bring it up, and he's like, "Man, that's been so long ago. I done forgot half of or 3/4 of what I did know."
It's the truth. I mean to tell you, we had a ship's doctor on there. He was I forget what his rate is. I think he was a chief, I think. But the only time I saw him was when I had to go get a hangover kit. No, seriously, he called it a hangover kit. I mean, you come in, you got a hangover. Oh my God, you just go over and hold your hand out, and he'd give you, I don't know, 3 or 4 pills, and I don't know what they were, but you take them and you're feeling pretty good in about an hour. There was one time I went in I made a mistake one time of with entertaining myself with sangria wine, and it was a strange day that day. It was in Spain, of course, and a couple of us were out on liberty, minding our own business, sort of, and we decided we want to stop and eat lunch. And over in Europe, they have these outdoor, chairs, tables, and things of that nature. So you just grab a table and you sit there, and then they bring the menu out, and you eat. And I was kind of questioning something. The waiter came over. I said, what is that picture of that juice stuff? It looked like one of those Kool-Aid pictures.
Uh-huh.
The kind you have, the glass thing, and it looked like a Kool-Aid picture, and I thought it was some kind of Kool-Aid. That's sangria wine. Really? Bring us one. So I brought the picture over there, and it was, I think if I remember right, you could get 3 glasses out of it, or maybe 4. But the prize of the whole thing was it had all this cut up fruit in the bottom of it. And once you drink all the wine, well, you have the fruit that you can eat. We were there, that was about noon. We ate, we drank the wine, and we stayed there and got another one, stayed there, got another one. Then it was everybody got a picture apiece. And if I remember right, we were there until midnight that night at the same place. And, of course, friends come over. They say, "Hey, what are y'all doing? Drink some of this stuff, man. It's pretty good." And the highlight of my night that night was when we were sitting there laughing, carrying on, and all of a sudden something hit me across the side of my right-hand face. And, it hit hard. And I looked up, and I was on the ground. I had fallen out of my chair. And I got up. Yeah, I'm kind of short-legged anyway. It's one of those kind of tall chairs, like I don't know, just a little taller chair than normal. So I had to kind of get back up in the climb back, like climbing in the saddle. I got back up in there, and I fell out the other side and hit the ground on the other side. So it's time to go. But the next morning, here I am banging on the chief's door there at sick bay. Chief, I need a hangover kit. And when I came back for my third one, he told me, "No, you're not getting a third one. Get out of here." So I haven't drinking. I have not had any more sangria wine since then. I learned my lesson. But that stuff is very, very wicked.
Oh gosh, it sounds wonderful to me.
It was wonderful at the time. But anyway, that's my Navy story.
I was going to say, tell us a little bit about yourself, but heck, going right into it, buddy, and I enjoy that.
Well, I'm 66 years old, and being over 65 or really over 62 or whatever you want to put it, I'm retired, basically. Sort of semi-retired. I still do things now and then. Some of the time I'm a go-getter. You know, take your wife to work and go get her. And other than that, I've been married 41 years to the same woman. And that's why I'm bald. You know, pull your hair out. I have 5 grandchildren. And I interact with those little squirts all the time. Well, 2 of them are in Florida right now, and I'm kind of missing them. And I don't know when we'll see them again, but anyway, I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. I'm the oldest one of all of them. That's why I'm so mean. And of course, my parents have passed away. They've been gone about, I don't know. I try not to remember that, but my parents are gone. That's about the size of it. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, been in MUFON for quite a while.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about about your service in the Navy a little bit? I know you're drunk. I mean, what did you do in the Navy?
Other than drinking my way half across the Atlantic, yes, I joined the Navy in 1969, about the summertime of 1969, and it was kind of weird. When I got out of high school in '68, and here I am. I think that year I had 21 different jobs. Trying to figure out what in the world do I want to do, and I had no clue, and it just wasn't working out well. So I went down. I said, well, maybe I ought to just join the service. So I went down to I passed up the door for the Marines. I said, no, I've seen too many Marine movies. I don't want any part of that. So I went to the Army recruiter, and I walked in there. And I started talking to him and stuff, and he's trying to get me signed up. I said, well, I want to get in. What about the Army Reserve? And he said, well, there's a long list for that. And then this big guy in the back there, he stood up, crossed his arms. He said, what's wrong with a little active duty? And I said, well, what's wrong with me walking out the door? And I just got up and left. And so I went into the Navy guy. And I said, okay. I just walked up to him. I said, all right, where do I sign? I want in. He looked at me kind of funny. He says, you running from the police? I said, no. He says, okay. He says, you got some girl pregnant? I said, no. I said, I want to join the Navy. He says, okay. And he started asking me some more questions and everything. I said, no. And finally he says, okay, well, let's get the paperwork started. And so the next thing I know, I'm getting shipped out to boot camp. Oh, man. It was an experience. I went to boot camp in San Diego. And, you would think that you guys not in California, are you?
No, we're in Virginia. I'm in Virginia, and she's in West Virginia.
Virginia, okay. Well, you would think that San Diego in the summertime would be hot, hot. But it's not really. And in the nighttime, it's kind of chilly. We didn't have air conditioning in that barracks. You just open the windows up and, you get under the blanket because it gets cold. But went to San Diego, and boot camp was it was okay. It wasn't, crazy and stupid. I mean, it was just, get along and do what you're told. But it's not a big deal. But I got out of boot camp, and I went on the destroyer. and it was based in Norfolk, Virginia. So there I am. Of course, when you get out of boot camp, you go to get to go home and leave. So I was home for a couple of weeks, and that was the halfway mark because I live in Fort Worth, Texas, and so I had to go to Norfolk, Virginia. Of course, the boat's not there when I get there. It's out on maneuvers. So I had to go on the what they call the tender. It's just a supply ship that's always there. I was there for about, I don't know, it seemed like it was a week, but I don't know if it was that long or not. So the boat comes in, and here I am. I'm going down there to meet the boat, and scared to death. When you come out of boot camp, you're scared to death. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what they're going to do. And these guys in boot camp are always yelling and screaming and hollering, and like a dummy, I walk up to the boat, and they got this walkway you go across, and they tell you in boot camp to salute the flag, and then you salute the officer of the deck and ask permission to come aboard. Well, here I am, boot camp deluxe, and I do all of that stuff, and they started laughing at me. They said, "Would you get on over here and forget about all that boot camp stuff?" And I said, "Oh, all right, no big deal." So I got all checked in, and that took a couple of hours. And so I got all my stuff down there in the lockers and things. And, the first thing I want to do is check the boat out. So here I am walking around the deck, looking at this, going up the ladders, stuff like that. And the main thing I wanted to look at were the gun mounts. I was fascinated with those big guns. And the quarterdeck was down there by the Mount 52 mount, and that's the one in the back. And I said, "Can I go in there and look around?" They go, "Yeah, just don't pull any triggers," and they started laughing. Of course, there's no ammo up. There's no ammo up there, and they're all the ammo's in the magazines. But I'm in there looking around all these guns. There's only two of them, two big guns in there, and that's it. And it's not like you're jumping in a Cadillac or anything. And you looking around and say, "Man, what does that do? What does this do?" You cannot really tell what anything does. It's just tubes and gauges and metal and machinery and I'm looking at this, and I'm going in there and looking at that, and I said, "Well, that's pretty cool." So we get underway. I forget how long it took us to get underway, but we had to go out on a refresher cruise or whatever it was. And we're going to Cuba. That's where we're going. We're going to Cuba for a Gitmo exercise. It's refresher training is what it is. We're down there for 90 days, and you talk about something hot. Go down there for a couple of days. I mean, oh my God. There's no shade, no trees, no nothing. But anyway, we're on our way down there. And, of course, my first 3 days out, I'm sick. I mean, I'm sick. Sick. Throwing up, and just, if you've never been seasick, I would not wish that on anyone. But after that, you can walk on the bulkheads. I mean, you're just fine after that. But we're going down through here, and I'm out on deck and talking to some of these guys that have been in the Navy for a long time. And, of course, I've always been interested in this off-the-wall stuff, as you want to call it, like Bermuda Triangle, because I knew the Bermuda Triangle was out there in the Atlantic somewhere. I had a pretty good idea where it was at. And I started talking about that. And this boatswain mate that I was talking to, he says, "What do you think about the Bermuda Triangle?" I said, "Well, I don't know what to think, just things that I've read." And I said, "I would kind of like to at least see it." He said, "Well, look over there on the side and see that water down there? That's the Bermuda Triangle." And I was in it and didn't know it. And
wow.
I about had a heart attack. And here I am running around looking to see if there's anything special in the water, which there wasn't. But I've been through the Bermuda Triangle, 10 or 20 times and lived to tell about it, so I don't know what to think about the Bermuda Triangle.
So you didn't disappear. That's good.
Yeah, I know. I was looking for a compass to see if it was spinning. The only compass I knew of was on the bridge, and I wasn't going to go up there. But I was on the deck force to begin with, and it's just almost boot camp all over again. And, oh, my God, it's just, is this what the Navy life is just boot camp forever? And I said, I've got to get out of this deck force thing. So I started looking at these gunner's mates and started talking with them. And off and on, I'd get on there. I'd paint the gun mounts and stuff like that and get in trouble for doing that. I'm not supposed to do that. But I was helping them out because I wanted to be a gunner's mate. I decided that's what I wanted to do. But I eventually got in. It took about 8 months to request to be in the gunner's mate in the gun gang. And I finally got in. And eventually worked my way up, and I became mount captain. I'm the fool that has my head stuck out the door, out the top of the hatch when the guns are going off. Now, you want to talk about something that's an experience? I'm here to tell you that's an experience. I mean, we were on a high-speed torpedo boat run once. That's when you're chasing a torpedo boat. We actually blew one out of the water. It was really cool. But the way it works is the ship, when there's a torpedo boat coming at you, the first thing you do is you take the destroyer and you head the destroyer right straight toward it because you have a low profile. And Mount 51, that's the forward mount, my mount, would fire 5 rounds. And then once the 5 rounds are expended, they broadside the boat at a 90-degree angle. Then both gun mounts fire 5 rounds apiece. And then it's like you make a horseshoe. Then you turn again, and Mount 52 shoots 5 rounds. If you don't get the boat by then, that's too bad. You got to start over. But this one exercise we did. They had a remote-controlled 60-foot boat, and it was painted orange. And they sent this boat out. It takes off. It's running on the horizon out there, and they wanted us to have exercise, shooting at it. And we said, well, we need to put a 5 mil offset in so that way we don't hit the boat. He said, you're not going to hit this boat. I thought, okay, no problem. Yeah, no problem. So here we go. We start our run. Here goes the boat, and I get my 5 rounds out. And, of course, this boat's zigzagging back and forth, zigzag, zigzag, zig, back and forth. And we're missing it, but when we broadsided, the controls on that boat went out, and it went dead in the water. About 2 seconds later. Yeah, about 2 seconds later, before they could call a ceasefire, we already had 4 rounds in the air, and it blew that thing into little bitty pieces, and all that guy was about to go crazy. So yeah, so we painted a little motorboat on the side of our gun mounts because we had him. It was great. So we ceasefired and went back to the pier. It was cool. But anyway, it was great being in the Navy. But there was one time we had an air shoot, and like I said, I had my head stuck out of there because I had a helmet on. I got some sound-powered phones on there, and I had my sunglasses on, and here I am. I've got my head stuck out there. And we fired both barrels at the same time for whatever reason. And the wind, we were going pretty fast, and the wind was blowing across the forecastle. And when those two gun mounts, when those 2 barrels went off, to give you an example, the blast of one barrel has probably a diameter of about 15, maybe 20 feet, about 15 feet anyway. It's a 15-foot ball of fire. So here you have both gun barrels going off at the same time. So you've got a 30-foot ball of fire that just got swept over my head.
Oh, God.
It took all of the oxygen out. It caught my breath. I ducked back down in that hole. First thing I'm looking for is my eyebrows. Did they burn them off? Did my singe and my smoke in here? And after that, I just kind of Kilroyed that hatch. I was looking out there. I wasn't a part of that. But now that was an experience, I'm telling you. But it was fun. My Navy life was fun.
Damn.
And go ahead. Oh, anyway, I was in the Navy for 4 years and a half, and the reason it's normally 4 years, and the reason I was another 6 months is because you have to have time in rate, and at 6 months before I was getting out, I took the test and I became E5 petty officer, and that's like a Marine sergeant, and I had to have another 6 months just to sew it on, so I extended 6 months because I wanted that crow. And so my last year in, I didn't do hardly anything, which was no problem with me. I just walked around like a chief with my coffee cup. I had head of the line chow privileges, and nobody ever gave me any static. And I spent a lot of time on the bridge after that. I'd be up there just watching the radar screen. There was a nice little radar screen you could look at, and my division officer up there one night, I was up there one night, and he goes, Hudgeons, I want you to do something for me. That's okay. We were in a line of ships. There's 3 other destroyers with us. He said, you could sit there and play with that there's two knobs on here, and there's a little pinpoint, and you can move that pinpoint on any object like the coastline or whatever, and it'll give you the range and bearing and how far away it is. And okay. He says, I want you to put your pinpoint on the fantail of that boat in front of us. I said, okay. And he says, when I holler at you, he says, you give me the range and bearing. Okay, cool, I can do that. Because we were about to make a turn, and he wanted to keep up, and you have to maintain a certain distance. So I was up there doing that, and that was pretty cool. I kind of liked that. And that only lasted about 10 minutes, but then I left.
So were you on those big boats that had like the plane landings and stuff? Those big boats?
Oh no! That's an aircraft carrier. No, I was on like a little cork. The boat I was on was like a cork in the water. It was yeah, it's like a cork in the water. It's a destroyer, and it was 390 feet long, and it was probably, I don't think it was any more than 35, 40 feet wide, and 3-foot seas will make you sick, a boot camp guy. But that was one time we came across the Atlantic coming back from Europe, and we got into a storm. And I mean to tell you, we were in this storm for 8 hours. We all thought we were going to die. This was 60-foot following seas. I don't know if you know what that is, but the waves were 60 feet tall, and they were following seas, and they were actually outrunning us, these waves. We were running, I don't know, I'm guessing about 12 knots. And the boat was getting these swells in the bottom of these swells, and the boat would be picked up like a surfboard. And then once the wave picked up the boat, we went 30 knots. And then we'd roll off the top of that wave, and we'd slow back down again. And then the next wave would catch us back to 30 knots. It was just a constant moving. Now, at the same time, we would take a 45-degree roll to starboard, and we'd sit there and vibrate for a minute. And then it'd shift back over and take another 45-degree roll to port. At the same time, we're taking water. So here we are. Now, this is an experience. You really should try this. Here we are. We have a line. We have a line of guys are lined up like ants, and we're in the after passageway there, and we have mops, and it's hard to do, but we're gathering up this water, and it's going 45 degrees, and then it shift over to 45 degrees, so the water's kind of moving back and forth. You got these mops, you're getting this water out, you're squeezing in these buckets, and the buckets, you line them up, and the after head is there, that's the restroom, and you dump them in the toilets. Now, you can't flush the toilet on a port roll because the waste disposal hole is on the port side. So you have to catch it on the beginning of your 45-degree roll starboard. Then you flush all the toilets to get the water out. That's how we got the water out of the passageways.
Wow.
You couldn't open it. The main deck is underwater. I mean, it's fun. It's really fun. They should charge tickets for something like that.
That sounds so much fun.
Yeah, it is. And you have to tie yourself to the walls, and it was an experience that I have never forgotten, and I do not want to experience it again.
But it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. We're too afraid to be scared. I mean, and we were in this for 8 hours. Oh my God! But another experience I had good was our little trip to the Black Sea. That's operated by Russia. Yeah, have you guys heard? I don't know. In some of the newscastings, they talk about, the Russians are buzzing our ships with jets and blah blah blah. You guys been hearing about that?
Yes.
That they kind of let you think that that's something new. No, that's not new. They were doing this stuff back when I was in the Navy. That's just something you do. That's what you do. We do that to them. It's just something you do. And when we went up to the Black Sea, there was 3 or 4 destroyers, and normally it's only like 1 or 2. Well, all of a sudden now we got 4. So they're on us like white on rice, because what these guys doing up here? Of course, it's not going to be an invasion. It's just, like we're going up there big shots. Well, they're going to come up with big shots too. They bring in bigger boats than what we have. And we're back on the back of the fantail back there waving at each other. There's no big deal. But there's one thing that we did. There's one thing that we did that really messed them up. And it's all a game. But we took the secret plans came in on the radio, right? And they said, okay, here, build this this apparatus, and it's on. I have a picture of it. It's on my Facebook. But we called it the Falcon. Okay. Now it's a 4-foot square piece of 1/4-inch steel plate, and it had a pole coming out of the middle of it, a couple of feet tall. And then we took a trash can, a steel trash can, and inverted it to where the open end was to the bottom, and put it at about a 45-degree angle or a 30-degree angle, and welded it to that post sticking up. And then we took, I forget, 5 or 6 empty powder tanks, which are about 3 or 4 feet long and 8 inches in diameter, and welded them on the top of that, and it looked like a little missile launcher. And every night at sundown, all 4 boats did this. Every night at sundown, we'd drag that stupid thing out and put it on the rear end of the flight deck. We had a little flight deck back down there for the poor excuse for drone torpedo bomber thing that they invented that we never did have. But it was a drone thing that took out and dropped torpedoes. But we never had that. But we still had the hangar deck. So every sundown, we'd drag that stupid thing out there, uncover it, and then before the sun came up, we'd go back out there and get it and drag it back in and hide it. Well, the boats would try to get close to us. They want to take pictures of this new thing we had here on our boat. Because in the morning, they could see it. And after a while, we left it out there and just covered it up. Because it was scratching the deck up when you're trying to take it out. So they see it on there, and they're trying to take pictures of it, trying to get close. And they never could get close to it to see what in the world it was. And about the time we were done with all our maneuvers, we're heading back out after a couple of days. This one night, they say they could tell, they knew we were leaving. After this one night, we hear a very loud plane coming over, and it went right down the whole line of our boats, and it dropped a flare on each boat. And then another plane came by, and we assumed it was taking pictures of, trying to see what in the world we had stuck down there. But I don't know if they figured out if it was a joke or not, but it was a joke. But they do that all the time. It's not a big deal. I mean, nobody's going to go to war for it. That's just what we do. But I went to Europe over there every year, spend 3 or 4 months over there, come back. I've been in the North Atlantic. I've been past the Arctic Circle, and I've been close enough to Egypt to get sand on the deck, and I didn't like that at all. I had to sweep it off. And we had an unknown phenomenon on board our ship while we were underway.
Oh. Awesome.
Yeah, it was unknown. Nobody ever figured out what this was, but it was we had lookouts. You have port starboard lookout and you have after lookout. And these guys were having gorilla sightings.
Did you say gorilla sightings?
Yeah, gorilla sightings. A gorilla. There was a gorilla terrorizing the lookouts. And nobody knew who that was. And to this very day, they still don't know who that gorilla was. And I talked to some of these guys. But anyway, that was a kind of a fun little deal. But other than that,
did you know who the gorilla was?
I plead the fifth.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I plead the fifth. That's classified information.
Because I was thinking there for a minute. I was like, gee, he's awful happy about this story.
Well, the gorilla never attacked me. I'll put it that way.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay, well, we'll change the speed up a little bit on this. So, what made you decide to start researching the UFO phenomenon? Did it have anything to do with your Navy experience, or did that come later on?
No, I was always curious about weird things when I was a young kid. I mean, back in the 60s, if you want to call it that. I was trying to remember what the first weird thing I read, and it was kind of a toss-up. I would go down to my grandmother's house all the time. She always had these Enquirer newspapers, and I was always looking through those things, and that's where I learned about Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, and then I learned about the inner Earth issue and just things of that nature. And I said, wow, man, is this stuff real? And I remember one time I saw there was a Life magazine that was sitting there, and it was a photograph of a newlywed couple. And by what I remember, that they were in the front seat of the car waving everybody goodbye and all this kind of stuff. And there was a photograph of an older woman in the back seat. And the story was that this woman in the back seat was her grandmother that always wanted to be at her wedding, but she had been dead for a couple of years or a year or so. And there she is in the back seat. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. I said, well, is this fake or whatever? There's a photograph. It's got to be real. But anyway, I started reading up all I could on this. And, of course, UFOs are in there and aliens are in there. And so I just kind of, I was interested in it as a young teenager kid. And so that's what got me started on it. And then I was talking to my sister one day. Of course, I'm older now. I was married in about 1990, 91, something of that nature. And I was talking about some kind of a UFO thing on TV. She said, well, you need to join MUFON. And I looked at her kind of, I said, what is MUFON? She goes, that's the Mutual UFO Network. And I said, okay. I said, how do you join? She said, well, you have to be recommended. I said, well, how can I get recommended if I don't know anybody in MUFON? She said, well, that's kind of weird, isn't it? And she said, well, I know the state director in Oklahoma, and I can get you an application. Okay. I don't remember how long it took her to get the application, but she came up with one. He had signed it, I'm approved, and all that kind of thing, which no big deal. I think it was only like $25 to join. And so I joined up, and I was expecting to find out all kind of good stuff, Hey, I'm in MUFON now, good organization, UFOs, all this kind of thing. So I joined up, and you get this nice little magazine every month, and that's all I would get is a little magazine every month. And here I am, Dallas-Fort Worth area. I said, wow, okay. So there was no meetings, there was nothing. And so I said, well, so it came time to renew my membership again after a year is up. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, do I really want to join this or nothing? What's going on with this? But I said, well, maybe I need to change it up a little bit. So I put on there on my application next time, I put on there I wanted to be field investigator. Oh, I got some reaction that time. Well, you can't just be a field investigator. This is the letter I got. You have to buy the field investigator's manual and take the test. Okay. I think the manual was like $25 or $30. I don't remember. So I said, okay, I want to do that. So I bought the manual. I got it. It's like a loose leaf folder. I forget now how many pages was in it. I wished I hadn't, but I actually gave that manual away to somebody. A field investigator wannabe that wanted to be in, and he didn't have a manual. So I said, well, here, take this one. And I should have kept it, but I didn't. But anyway, here I am. I'm a field investigator now. All right, because I passed the test. And so I'm here. I'm expecting to get all these reports to go to and find out what's really going on, and nothing again. So I'm just down in the dumps. My shoulders are down. I'm hanging my head. I said, oh, man, what is this? This is a bunch of malarkey. So just about the time I was about to just throw it up in the air, I get a letter. Hey, guess what? We're having a MUFON meeting over here in Dallas, and you're invited to come. Here's the address and all that kind of thing. So I went over there. I said, all right. I was all excited. I went over there, and all 5 of us showed up. And I was the only field investigator. Right? Oh. Unknown to me was that just about the time I joined and got established in there, the large DFW group that was there had a big rift, a big argument, and everybody went their own way. So here we are. So I'm just going, oh, my God. So right away, I'm the chief investigator. because they didn't call it chief investigator back then. They called it senior investigator because I'm the only one. So then there's one gentleman, I forget his name now, but he was basically taking control of the group and going to rebuild the DFW chapter. Well, he didn't last very long because I found out later on he wasn't even a MUFON member. So I don't know what his plan was. But another, yeah, well, I mean, what's the deal? So another guy came up as Ken Cherry, and he's a pretty good guy. He's a good guy. He came up, and he was a MUFON member, and he was talking to the Walt Andrus down in Seguin, Texas. He was the one that was running MUFON, and he became the state director of Texas. And between him and I, we rebuilt the chapter over in DFW, and it took a long time. I mean, to tell you, it took a long time, and so we rebuilt the chapter up, and at the time I became, that's when the Stephenville thing came up. Before that, I was the chief investigator of Texas, and I'm not any longer. And after that, I became the state director of Texas, and I'm not that any longer either. I basically gave that up to Teresa Turner when I became the director of investigations. Now I'm just simply the director of investigations now, which is over the whole shooting match here in the United States. And that's a job in itself.
Yeah.
Say again?
I'll say, could you let our listeners know exactly what MUFON does? I mean, what happens within the organization?
Well, the organization is a lot larger now and more structured than it was when I first got in it. There's actually a board, what they call it. There's actually two different boards. There's a board that does the financial part, and then there's another group which we call the senior staff that actually do the running of the activities in MUFON. But what we do is, and our basic function is, investigating sighting reports. A lot of people say, you're into UFOs, are you? Well, no, not really. I would love to be in a UFO, but no, we don't investigate UFOs. We investigate UFO sightings. That's what we do. And we're the only UFO organization that does that. There's a lot of UFO organizations out there that will listen to your report and that kind of thing, but no one's going to come out to your house and talk with you about it. And these other organizations are not trained. You should see the Field Investigator's Manual now. I mean, I tell you, it's a very nice document, and I think it's about $125 now, and a lot of work goes into it. I know I've put a lot of work into it, just correcting pronunciations and dotting I's and crossing T's. But that's what we do. And in a certain occasion, if there's any evidence, we take evidence, and there's certain ways you have to take evidence. I mean, you can't just go out there and dig a hole and collect some dirt. I mean, there's certain ways you have to do it. Otherwise, it's not any good. And the way I look at it, the way I approach it in all of my dealings is you treat it like you're going to court with it. Mm-hmm. So, hearsay, that's no good. And your evidence, such as photographs, I deal with this all the time. Just the other day, I was dealing with some photographs, and after you've viewed several thousand of these photographs, you know what dust looks like, you know what hair looks like on the lens, and you know what lens flares are, and you know what birds are, and you know what insects are, because you've seen them. Because that's mostly, basically, that's what they have on these photographs. Are just standard little things. And when you tell them that, you don't make any friends when you tell somebody they've got dirty lens. You don't do that. You don't make any friends.
Know that.
Yeah, and so, and I love the photographs that someone has taken of a window or a door with a glass in it, or they've taken a photograph through their car window. I love all of those photographs because they're all reflections of something that's otherwhere, somewhere else. And after a while, it's just this one. This guy says, that he felt like he got brushed off, and I looked at his photograph, and it was he took a photograph of some jets in the air, and the jets were blurred, but the big large sign that he had in front of him was not blurred. So that told me that his camera was set on autofocus because he wasn't focused in right on, autofocus, it focuses in on whatever's close to him. But in the photograph was a long, not a round, not a V shape, but just like a slur of a line. And he said that's an object in the sky. I said, no, it's not. It's hair on your lens. And I blew it up, and I circled 4 or 5 other small little specks on there too. I said, this like this right here. This is dust, and he didn't like that a bit. So I just run into this all the time. It's just I would love to see a photograph of an actual UFO. I would love it. But they're far and in between, and I have never seen one that I thought was, other than there was one. But later on, Mark D'Antonio told me, no, that's been proven as a hoax. And I was very let down because it looked good. It looked really good. But we're looking for it. We're looking for the smoking gun. And like in photographs, I try to tell people, I said, look, this evidence has to be beyond reproach, because you're going to take this evidence and you're going to show it to people. And if it's not good enough to show people that have no idea what we're talking about, then it's not good enough, period. So you have to take the evidence right. And it's like people come up with this, well, I have an implant. I removed it, and here it is. Really? You removed? Yeah. Well, that's not going to work. You might as well throw it in the trash, because a doctor has to remove it, and it has to be put in sample bags, and it has to be marked. You have to have a chain of custody, and that's the way it is. Because otherwise it doesn't work in court. If you don't have a chain of custody, that's it. It's just nothing. And people don't understand that. That's just the way it is. I'm sorry. And we're looking for the smoking gun.
I know we run into it a lot because where we deal with the paranormal.
Yes.
As far as the evidence, I painstakingly sit here hours and hours and hours going through audio and video and photographs, and everybody will see something and they're like, ooh, 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 and then I'll say, no, it's a lens flare, or that's a reflection, or try to recreate.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. Yes, and then they get that.
I want to ask you something.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you something about what EVPs.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
That's called EVPs, electronic thingy. Okay, I have been on ghost hunts, not many, but a couple. And there's a guy I know over in Dallas. His name is Tommy Diamond. He is an archaeologist guy. He digs up bones and stuff. He has a find, a T-Rex find that's over in the museum over here. And he was a field investigator at one time, and he invited me over with his ghost hunting buddies to go over to the red, it's the red courthouse. I think that's what they call it. It's over in the middle of downtown Dallas. So I went over there with him, spent a couple of hours, and everybody's kind of split up, and they're walking around. Nobody's in the building, just us. And they have these meters, these light meters. I forget what you call them, where they're green and yellow and go to red, whatever it is. What do you call
K2
those?
meter. K2 meter.
Okay. Well, everybody has one of those, except I don't want to carry one. But we're walking around this place. That's it. EMF readers. Yeah, EMF. So we're walking around, and I'm watching this thing go up and go down, go up and go down. And, of course, he is like he's talking to, when it would go up, he would start talking like he's talking to the ghosts, okay? And asking questions, and he was sitting there telling me that sometimes when they ask questions, the energy reader will spike a little bit or whatever. And so I'm just taking all of this in, saying I'm a nuts and bolts guy. So here I am. I'm walking around with him. And at the same time, they have all these cameras set up everywhere. They had a big operation, cameras everywhere, and then monitors, and Tommy had little digital recorders with him, and he's recording everything that's going on. But there was a couple of comments were made on this EVP recording and things, and I listened to it. But when I hear these things, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's electronic. Anybody can broadcast on a certain frequency that you can't hear, and it's going to be recorded. That's just in my brain. It's stuck, and I can't get that out. There's a possible way of doing that. So, and then when you couple that with the type of language that you hear on these EVPs, it's nothing what I would expect to hear from a ghost. I would expect, oh yeah, it's pretty cool over here. You ought to see there's plants, there's bushes, there's nothing, or it's rocks, it's burning fire. You don't hear anything like that. You hear, hello, or you hear, hey, or you hear, look out, or you hear, yes, I'm a male, or you hear some kind of crazy crap like that. I don't buy that. So here we are. We walk up to the stairway, and he steps up on the stairway. And all of a sudden, his meter spikes. And I said, stop. So he stopped. I said, back down the stairs. So he backed down the stairs. When he got back off the stairways and got on the floor, the meter went back down. I said, here, do something for me. I said, walk up to the stairs. He goes, yeah. I said, extend your arm all the way as far as you can up the stairway. So he did. And it didn't spike. I said, now put 1 foot on that stair step. As soon as he touched the stair step, the thing spiked. So we have electrical activity there. But there was something not grounded right on that stairway.
Right.
So, I'm open for that kind of thing. There's too many things that just give me a red flag.
Well, with the EMF field, detector like that, the biggest thing we do when we go into a location to do an investigation, we sweep the location to find hot spots of the EMF spikes. So, we're not getting false readings like that. And I don't put no real big what's the word I'm looking for? Emphasis on the K2 or the EMF meters because it's electromagnetic that you're trying to read, and that's everywhere. And
yes, it is.
So these spikes, it could be anything. It could be a hot wire, some type of wiring, some kind of electronics, as far as like a refrigerator, a microwave, and all that puts off. So those are really mainly what I use for my group is more or less to let me know where not to go to investigate at. And as far as the EVPs, now I give you're right. A lot of that could be some kind of frequency from another radio channel or from a satellite or something like that. But what I find intriguing with, especially the EVPs we've got, is that, a lot of times we get a response to a question that's been asked. And, that kind of, but still, I'm still in the opinion about this that my theory is that maybe it's got to do with something with time, space, that, wormholes or something that we may be actually getting a frequency or a voice from, maybe a parallel universe or
another
something
dimension
like that.
Possible. I don't rule anything like that out.
And so, as far as it being a dead spirit or not, unless they give me a name, when they died, and who killed them or how they died, to back up with the history, then it kind of makes my theory a little bit stronger.
Yes.
Right. So
I want to go ahead.
I was wanting to ask you a little bit about Stevensville, Texas, where you did the investigation on the Stevensville light.
Yes, that was that opened the door for a lot of things, and I went back and researched this kind of thing before it worked up to it. But that was in like 2008, and I started doing some back checking on the sighting history of Texas, like in 2007, 2006, that kind of thing. Like in December of 2007, this took place in 2008, like January and February, but in December and November and October, that kind of thing, Texas averaged about 2.5 sightings a month, if you can imagine that. Just that's it. Sometimes it'd be 2, sometimes it'd be 3, sometimes it'd be 1, but it's like 2.5. But in January and February, we were getting like 300 sightings a month. It just spiked all of a sudden, and we don't really know why. But they have been increased since then. Still get a lot of sightings. And we sat here and try to plot this on maps, and is there a certain area? But no, it's scattered everywhere. There's no way to really plot it or just figure out where the next one's going to be. That's the way it is across the United States. It's just nothing is constant. It's just scattered everywhere. And there's only two kind of people that have UFO sightings. That's people with dogs and people that smoke.
Yeah.
Because they're the only ones outside.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take up smoking, and I'm not going to get a dog. But Stephenville really caught us all by surprise. And so here's State Director Ken Cherry. He said, we got to do something about this because the people from the AP, it was, I forget what her name was, Angela something or other, from the Associated Press, started calling him on the telephone and saying, hey, you know all about these sightings that are going on there, because they were starting to come in after the constable turned in his report, and then a couple of other people started turning in their reports. Then that just opened the floodgates. There's like 300 or 400 people all of a sudden giving reports. And Angela Joyner in she worked at the Stephenville newspaper. She was receiving all these phone calls. So she calls up the state director here in Texas, and then he connects it over to me, and I'm talking to Angela about this, and I'm sitting there thinking, she said, well, you guys need to get down here and investigate this. And well, you know, it's easy to say that, but because everybody in MUFON works off of their own dime. I mean, there's no, hey, give me some gas money so we got to go. That doesn't work that way. And you know, I wasn't prepared to go to Stephenville and interrogate 500 people. And, you know, you just, what? You gonna line them up? And you know so I'm sitting there trying to figure out how we're going to do this. And I said, well, Angela, I said, how about if we get a school cafeteria or something of that nature? And so she said, let me make some calls. So she made a call, and she said, yeah, the school will do it, but they want a $150 deposit so they can clean up afterwards, which I understand that. But that ain't going to happen. So it eventually came up to where I forget what they call them. It's like the Chamber of Commerce of Dublin, but that wasn't the Chamber of Commerce. I forget what it was. But they said, hey, we have a building down here, and you guys can have your meeting here. I think they were able to seat 350, 400 people, something like that. And we can have it down here on a Saturday, and then we'll just do it that way. So we said, okay. They also said, well, we'll give free Dublin Dr. Pepper and popcorn. Oh, yeah, we want some of that. So they broadcast that and posted that in the newspaper at Stephenville. So we go down there. I call up investigators from Dallas and Fort Worth and Waco and Austin, and there's like 5 or 6 of them. And I said, you know, we're going to do this investigation here, and everybody's all for it. So we all meet there at the place. And I get there a couple of hours early and start setting things up, and, you know, the room starts filling up, and here I am doing, people coming up to me talking, and different little people coming up wanting interviews, and man, I noticed that the room is filling up big time, and that there were so many people in that room that they had to basically, you know, shut the door. And sorry, there's no room. I mean, there's seating and standing. It was solid people. And I said,
Wow.
man, this many people have sightings, so I didn't. So I have the field investigators up there. I've got them all. They got all set it down, and I forget what time we want to start. It's like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. But somebody come over and grabbed me by the neck and said, hey, it's time to start. So I was like, oh, okay. So I went over and had to wiggle my way through the people to get over to. They had a podium set up. And I knew who did that? We weren't going to play. Well, anyway, they had a podium set up, and I walked up to it, and the first thing I noticed was all of these microphones attached to that podium. You couldn't even hardly put any paper on it. It was 7 or 8 microphones stuck up there. I'm saying, who in the world is recording this? Just we weren't going to allow anybody to record. And I look up, and that's the first time I noticed. There's all these tripods with these big cameras spun around in front of me. CNN, Fox, and ABC. Holy crap! Who are these? Why? It was like the whole world was sitting there, and I immediately got nervous. I said, "Oh my God!" And I think I said, "Hey, I'm getting more news, more press than Chelsea Clinton." I said something stupid like that. But anyway, I immediately became nervous. Here I am. Oh my God! I'm running for president. Look at this. So we basically told everybody what we're going to do, explained what we're going to do, and then after I got to talking, I kind of looked up at everybody and said, okay, anybody that there was a separate little room there. That's where the field investigators went in. There's about 5 or 6 tables in there with some chairs. I said, okay. I said, anybody that has a report that they want to talk to us about, just kind of line up on the wall over there. The whole crowd moved. It was like a whole waterfall. Just everybody started moving over there. And, oh, man. I said, oh, my God, man. I don't know how many reports these guys took. They were there the rest of the day taking reports. And most of the reports were just basically what we call lights in the sky. And the main thing about the area around Dublin and Stephenville, it is surrounded by military operating zones. And these jets are always in there play fighting with each other and dropping these flares. And after our investigations were basically half done, we found out that there's like only 6,000 different kinds of flares that these guys can drop and play around with. So the majority of the things that people were seeing down there were, my opinion, were flares. That is, until the flying Walmart comes into the area. And I call it the flying Walmart because it's half a mile wide and 1 mile long. And it just kind of glides through the area.
Dang.
And it was seen by, that was one of the driving forces that started all of this. There's a group of 4 people. One of them was a pilot, saw this object. It kind of glided past them. Then later on, Leroy Gayton saw some things, the constable. And then the object comes back across this other group again, and this time it's being chased by jets. So we don't know what that was. I have no idea. And besides the flying Walmart, it's certainly not a flare. And another occasion, there was 4 Stephenville police officers saw this object too over downtown Stephenville. And they were in different positions around town and saw this thing. And it was just taking its time, gliding around and going over there. And so I had to ask myself a question after this. I said, why would an alien race travel, I don't know how many trillions of miles to get here to this rock, and then take possibly their only way home and fly it over a military operating zone full of jets with missiles and rockets that are driven by apes that might shoot them down or break their ship? Why would they do that? Can you answer that for me?
No.
Well,
my
opinion
yes.
is to check on us.
Well, you can check on us from orbit. Anybody that helps technology come down here can check on us from orbit. There's no need to fly 200 feet off the ground. I'm thinking it's our own equipment.
Mm.
And they're testing it.
So, are you coming to the conclusion that from what you've studied and what you're saying that there's no such thing as UFOs, or that are alien crafts?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I feel is that possibly 95% of the things that we see flying around are our own equipment. And I come to that. Let me go to you this way. I have another one I want to open your eyes with. But here, let's say I tell people this when I talk to them. I said, okay, how long was man in an animal-drawn vehicle? Just think about that for a minute.
A few thousand years?
About 2,500 years. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, from the time that man stepped off of this animal-drawn vehicle and stepped onto the moon, how long is that?
100 years, maybe?
Closer to 69.
Okay.
69 years we stepped off of that animal-drawn vehicle and stepped onto the moon. Okay? You got me there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Why is it that after almost 120 years we still have these cars getting 21 miles to the gallon?
Oh, I would say big corporation.
That's what you want to think. Yeah, corporations. But corporations only do what they can do. And when you say corporations, okay, why would they stay in these cars when they can have something that's gravity enhancing and you fly around and, gasoline free? Why wouldn't they do that? They can make more money that way.
Would they or wouldn't they?
Well, the last I heard was that these cars are destroying the climate. Why wouldn't they want to get rid of these gas-eating cars? If it's such a threat to the environment.
That's true.
There again, it goes to the world economy, because if you
there you
are
go.
not using cars, then you would end up going back to the horse and buggy.
Yes, you would, because our economy is based on oil.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know the United States has more oil than Saudi Arabia?
I've read that.
Yes, it is. It's there. They're not pulling it out of the ground. They're waiting for everybody to burn theirs up first. And we
Yeah.
But anyway, here I want to ask you guys something. You guys are ghost hunters, right?
Yes.
Okay, I have made an observation. I want to share it with you. I want you to first describe to me your opinion of what a ghost is.
Robin, go ahead.
To me, a ghost is not quite a ghost. I have a couple different descriptions. I believe it could either be a spirit that once what did live. It could be something, an entity that never did live. Or, I've even thought about maybe ghosts being some type of alien. Because, there isn't any proof anywhere.
Okay, good. You're going to like what I'm going to tell you. What about you?
Well, my thing is where I think the conscious is, is part of the energy of the universe. I think it's when we pass on, whether it be humans or anything that's living that has some type of consciousness that we don't even understand in the universe right now, that we could be hearing or seeing. And then it goes back into the, wormholes times, rips in time and space. And also, when she brought up the aliens thing, one investigation that we was on, me and a buddy of ours that was on investigation with him, and we were walking behind in a wooded area, and it was a pavement. Well, we had the recorders going, and while we was walking, we were talking, and when I got home to listen to it, it sounded like we were walking on like a metal catwalk in a large building.
Okay.
Because when we were talking, you could hear the echo. And, that later, as we walked around out of the woods, we seen like a white light shoot across the sky. But it was going up, not down. So then they kind of got into that, well, maybe aliens have some part in this too.
When you ask someone about what a ghost is, basically the first thing they're going to say is, well, it's the energy of a dead person. Would you agree with that?
I believe that's what they would say, but I don't believe that.
Well, I'm talking about just like regular people.
Oh yeah, that's probably what they would say.
They would say that's a dead person because I see my grandmother all the time, or I see my dad, or I see this. It's usually the energy of a dead person. It hasn't passed over. Okay, my big deal with that is, why are they wearing clothes? Because if clothes are energy too, I could go burn my shirt, and all of a sudden my shirt's going to be floating around somewhere because it's dead energy.
I never thought about it that way.
Okay, now here's my deal on that. So-called aliens are supposed to have been with us forever. They're in cave drawings. They're in the history. Just somewhere along the line, this bug-eyed little guy is always picking his head around the corner. Okay? Now, one thing about aliens, they have this unique ability, supposedly, of mind control. And they are basically anywhere and everywhere at will. So here you are, in bed asleep. Something wakes you up. It may be one of these, but when you wake up and you look, you see the ghost of your grandmother gone past, or you see your mother, or you see your buddy, or whatever. You see something that you're familiar with. And then you kind of get startled a little bit, but then it's familiar, so you just go back to sleep. So here we are working with the mind control thing. I'm thinking that the aliens are here, doing whatever they do, searching and looking, investigating, whatever they do. If they're looked at or somebody wakes up and they see them, they project something in their brain that they're familiar with. That's my idea of a ghost.
I like that theory.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Because that answers some of the things I've seen through the past.
I get that from people when I tell people that, they go, But anyway, I don't know for sure. Yeah, see, it's a learning experience.
Well, you deal with the paranormal. We deal with the paranormal. It's we're still trying to figure out things that we can't explain. Inexplainable, I guess.
That's our purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. We may not ever find the answers, but
no, we're not.
Eventually, somebody's going to get close enough and figure it out. I'll probably be dead and gone, but it'd be amazing.
Well, the people that get close enough are not really either understood or believed.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
I've been on abduction experiences, investigations early on in my MUFON career, and there was one of the questions you asked was, have there been any kind of weird or unusual sighting reports? But yeah, I've got a couple that I wanted to talk about. Yeah. And this one, there was a report came in, and it was over in North Dallas, and it was an abduction report. So I went over, and it was a young couple, and they were in an apartment complex. So immediately right off the bat, I said, well, how can you be abducted out of an apartment complex without someone else seeing something? So I just kind of went in there and listened to it, and the woman, the female, I don't remember if they were wives or married or whatever, but that's beside the point. She would not come out and talk to me. The husband of the boyfriend was the one that was talking to me, and I could tell he was concerned. And he was telling me about her abduction experience. And I was writing on that, taking notes and doing this and all that. And I said, okay, thank you. And I left. And it seemed like about a week or so later, or maybe a little longer, I got another abduction report. And it was over in North Dallas again. And it wasn't the same apartment complex. But I went to them and talked with them. And again, the female would not come out, just the guy. Well, I did this 3 times up there, and scattered across the North Dallas area up there. And Dallas is pretty, some of the roads go all over the place. And so I came back home and I started. And in each case, they talked about going to a wooded area. And I said, wooded area? There's no woods around here. It's all apartment complexes. So I came back home after that, and I got to looking at this. So I got a map of Dallas, and I got that map, and I started pinpointing these addresses. And that's when it hit me. It was like a triangle around this one little wooded area in the middle of the place. And there was one little small. So I said, oh, man. So I started making phone calls to all 3 of these people, and they had all moved, every one of them, within about a month and a half. They moved. They said, forget this, we're moving. And I lost contact with them. That's it. But there was this wooded area down there, and I was going to say, we're going to look at this wooded area, but, without them, it was a waste of time. But there was another woman had called me on the phone, and she was asking me about an abduction research group that maybe be in the Dallas area, and we didn't have one. Because abductions, people just didn't talk about them back in the 80s or back in the 90s. People didn't talk about them much. And she says, why don't you come over? And she said, let's talk. I need somebody to talk to. I said, okay. So I went over there at her house, and it was over in Dallas again. And so I went up to her house because I called her back and forth and telling her, I said, okay, I'm here and I'm there. And she said, okay, I'm just come on to the house, no problem. So I walked up to her front yard, and she had this big, long porch. And it was like, 3 feet off the ground. And she had steps going up. But she walked down on that porch, and she met me. And she was a very tall woman. And here she is, towering. I bet she was 6 feet tall anyway. And then you have 3 foot of porch. She's 9 feet to her face from where I was standing. I was standing down breaking my neck trying to look up to her, talk to her. And she had her hand out, like she extended her arm and held her hand up, like, hey, stop. So I saw that, body language and things. So I stopped in my tracks, and we were sitting there talking. And she did this to me 3 or 4 times. And she says, after we talked, she says, okay, she says, come on in. So I went in there, and I was sitting on a chair, and she's sitting on the couch, and we're talking. She's talking about her incidents. And she kept doing this hand gesture in front of me. And I said, can I ask you why you're doing that? She says, oh, it's just a natural reaction for me. She said, I was feeling of your vibration. I said, oh, okay. And she said, I could tell you were okay because from outside, she said, that's why I let you come in. I said, all right. And she says, kind of got quiet for a minute. She's looking at me, and she says, why don't you tell me about your abduction experience? Oh, my God. My eyeballs went up. I started getting cold chills, like I'm getting cold chills right now. And I said, what abduction experience? She says, you've been abducted, I can tell. I said, no, I haven't. She says, yes, you have. You just don't remember it. And after, about 5 more minutes, I said, I got to go. And I got my stuff and left. And I haven't heard from her since. But no, not to my knowledge. I haven't never been abducted.
Yeah, that'd be a little freaky.
Yes, that's freaky, all right. And I got a freaky story to tell you here in just a minute. But first, I want to tell you about this one other investigation I went on. And, you're talking about freaky ones? This guy called me on the phone. He goes, you with MUFON? I said, yes. He said, I have been videoing UFOs for 10 years. And I said, okay. I said, how are you doing that exactly? He said, I have a VHS camera, and it's on this tripod, and this tripod is in this window, and it's pointed out this window here, and that's all it does. It videos 24 hours a day, and when I've got a lot of tapes here, and when I run out of a tape, I said, unfortunately, I have to retape over the last one. He said, I have a lot of evidence here, and I want to expose it to the world, and I want you to help me do it. And I said, okay. I said, let me come down and see what you got. So I made an appointment with him, went down there. It was the south side of Fort Worth. And so I went down there and knocked on the door, and him and his wife came to the door and introduced myself, and he said, yeah, come on in. And before I could get into the house, his wife handed me 2, shower caps. And I said, okay, what am I supposed to do with these? She said, put them on your shoes. Put your shoes in them. I said, okay. I guess she didn't want me to track dirt in her house. I don't know. So I put them on. And I went into this guy's little room. He had I don't know, I guess it's his man cave. And he had a big screen TV in there, and then there's his tripod with his camera on it. And he had, I don't know, 50 or 60 of these VHS tapes over here in a shelf arrangement. And he said, here's the tape here I want you to see. And so he stuck it in there, and while he was sitting there fooling with it, I went over to his camera. And I looked to see where it was pointed, and it was pointed basically straight north from his house, kind of north and kind of northeast. And I know that because I took my compass out and got a compass reading on it. And I got a mark. And so I said, okay, I wrote that down. And then we're here viewing his video, and he said, okay, here it is. Here's what I want to show you right here. He said, this is it. I said, what's the setting on your camera? He said, well, it's on infinity. And this VHS camera, he's got it set on infinity. He said, if you don't have it on infinity, you can't see the objects. I said, okay. That means he's got the thing zoomed out as far as it'll go. So I'm sitting here, and I'm viewing his video, and the first thing I thought, here it comes. He said, here it comes. And the first thing I thought of was a movie film I've seen of the space shuttle re-entering. You know, where you see it coming down, and that's the first thing I thought. I said, man, it looked like a space shuttle. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say that to him, but it came in, and it went down, and it went out of sight from the roof of the guy's house across the street from him. You know, it just kind of went down out of sight over there. And in a few minutes, here comes another one. And he was really excited about this. Man, I found a vortex. They're coming in, and they're landing here north of Fort Worth here somewhere. I said, you've been doing this for how long? 10 years. I said, okay. And I didn't take any videotapes. He wouldn't let me have any. And I said, okay. I said, let me look some stuff up, and I'll get back with you. He said, okay. So I went home, and I got on the internet, and I printed out some maps of the area. And I had a pretty good sized printer, and I put them on 11x17s pages, and I had a couple of pages all printed out there of the streets and the area and all this kind of thing. And I went on down here to where his house was located, and I pinpointed his house, and I took the bearing of his camera, and I put that bearing on my map and drew a straight line all the way across, and it hit the runway at Alliance Airport north of town.
Oh, no.
So this guy has been taking movie film camera of airplanes landing at Alliance Airport north of Dallas Fort. And so I rolled up that map, and I rolled and I put it in a little tube, and I wrote him a little letter and explained to him what he was seeing and what he was doing. And I never heard from the guy again until I think it was about 2 years ago. I heard from him. He called talking to me because I was the director of investigations. And he says, yeah, I used to live in Fort Worth, but now I'm in Crowley now, which is south of Fort Worth. And he says, I turned in an investigation report a long time ago, and I was talking to this guy named Steve Hudgeons, and he was ridiculing me. And since I've moved, I'm still taking photographs and movie films of these UFOs down here. And I said, you living in Crowley, right? Yeah. I said, which direction are you filming? And he says, east. I said, what's your address? He says, it's so-and-so, so-and-so. And I got him up, pulled a map up on the internet there, and there he is again. He's pointed toward another airport down there in Crowley. And I said, well, you probably don't recognize my voice. I said, but I'm the guy that investigated you so many years ago. And I said, you are once again taking movie film of an airport. And I said, and I did not ridicule you. I sent you a nice little letter explaining to you what you saw. You hung up on me.
Yeah.
How did he take that?
So, he hung up on me.
Oh, shit. Damn.
Well, I'll tell you what the problem is with this. When we were doing Stephenville, the elements from Japan contacted the UFO hunters when UFO hunters was down there with us doing it, and offered thousands of dollars per second for any movie film that MUFON authenticated as real. So there's the reason people are taking video and taking camera shots of anything and everything and turning it into us. And once we give it the pat on the back, they got a lot of money in their pocket.
Yeah.
That's the problem we run into.
Yeah, that's a problem with a lot of any type of paranormal investigation. Anytime there's money involved.
Oh, yeah, money is the root of all evil.
It sure is. Well, can I ask you, to talk about maybe Project Blue Book and, what was his intention?
Oh, Blue Book. I'm kind of up in the air about Blue Book. I think it was just basically a diversion. And there's one thing I kind of see the military. They do things like left, right, left, right, left, right. Why have a Blue Book and not have any other colored books? You follow me? Like, why start off with a Blue Book, and why call it Blue Book? So you had to, I sat there and thought about this. I took art in high school, and blue is one of the primary colors. You have red, yellow, blue. That's the primary colors. Mm-hmm. Years and years after that, I started seeing you don't see them much anymore. But I started seeing things about the yellow book and the red book. And I had never told anybody this kind of thing. The yellow book was supposed to have their, I don't know, I'm getting them confused. But one book has their medical stuff, and the other book has their technology stuff. And the blue book was what the public was going to see. And that's all I know about Blue Book. I think it's just the diversion. Because they closed it, and nothing was ever done with it, and it's just because it's the largest secret thing the United States has. So that's all I can tell you about Blue Book.
Well, I know you're on the STAR team. And
yes.
Can you explain what the STAR team is, and your investigation?
Yes. Now the STAR team was basically put together right in the middle of the Stephenville incident. And it was designed, they felt like that this was the beginning of a lot more sightings, right? So they said, well, we want a crack team and put together to go investigate these things basically at the drop of a hat. And it just never really worked out well because it turned into paid investigators and expenses paid. And I was telling Ken Cherry at the time, I said, man, this is not going to work. They start putting money into this stuff, and it's going to be terrible. So we didn't. State of Texas didn't participate. We said, no, we're not going to participate. And eventually it went down the tubes like we thought it would, because the sightings stopped, and there was no place for them to go. And when they did, it really didn't work out well, and it was just. But the STAR team is still available. At that time, there weren't very many members, and they're made up of the experienced field investigators and basically the people that have the means to just drop the hat, get your go bag, get in your car, and go to wherever the incident is, and do your investigation. That's what it's based on. Now, we have STAR team members, plenty of them, and they're all in different in their own prospective states. So now instead of a STAR team manager, I'm now basically the acting STAR team manager, and we're getting ready to convert it down to where each state director is their own STAR team manager, and they conduct STAR team episodes and incidents in their own states, and STAR team manager is basically out of the loop, which brings the STAR team manager out and brings me, this director of investigations, in, and it's like better organization. But there was a lot of dissent with state directors because they didn't want someone coming in and basically taking over their organization in their state, because some of these state directors they view this invisible fence around their state. Nobody comes in and takes in on their action, and it's not like that so much anymore. It's more cooperation nowadays. But basically, the STAR team is a crack team of investigators that are have a lot of investigation under their belt, and if there's any evidence to be taken, they know how to take it, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the evidence that can win in court, and it's not easy because the evidence turns out to be nothing so far. But that's a start.
Oh, okay. Well, do you know of any astronauts or any foreign space agencies that came forward with the public about UFOs, and did they say throughout all the?
There are a few astronauts that will talk about it for a brief period of time, but none of them ever really come out and said anything that was basically damaging to them, because they have these secrecy oaths, and they can only go just so far, and that's it. I mean, even you would think, well, maybe they have some deathbed confessions, but no, that doesn't happen either, because their spouses are still available, and you never know what they're threatened with. But you hear all these stories, but no, not really, nothing that's substantial.
Okay. What about your thoughts on Area 51?
Area 51 is a good place to go visit if you only get put in jail. All of the things that were, well, that's true. You can't even get close to that place anymore. But when Area 51 became world renowned and all of this, kind of the first thing they did is start trying to figure out a new place to go, and they did that. They moved all the good stuff to Dugway in Utah. Area 51 is now just an air base for secret aircraft that they're messing around with. And that's all it is. There's nothing out there anymore that's what you would think. Like I said, all the stuff's I've been told it's all been moved to Dugway.
Okay, what I've noticed, after the Roswell crash, this is just, my way of looking at things since the crash in 1947. As far as our technology has increased by, 1,000-fold. Do you believe, or is there any evidence to support any crash that the United States government has maybe reverse engineered any possible alien technology that's moved our weaponry and our technology up so far today?
Well, everybody points to that, saying, yeah, they got the technology back in 1947, but there's no proof of that, and nothing. There's just all hearsay evidence, people talking about it. There's no verifiable video or verifiable recordings, or it's just all people talking. And anyone that has ever read a UFO book can talk about UFOs, and anybody that's ever read an abduction book can claim they were abducted. And there's no actual proof of all of this stuff. It's just conjecture, and you can sit there and believe these people and say, yeah, they're credible, but wow, is this true? And I've heard stories that crashes have been going on since the early 40s, not just 47, and they were taken out of the air with radar systems, concentrated radar systems, until they figured out what was going on and they fixed it. yes, there's. I don't know. There's a lot of hearsay evidence, and you can't really rule all this out because some of the technology has increased, and my opinion is it hasn't increased like it should. I mean, like I said, we're still in these 21 mile to a gallon cars, and there's something's not right there. And when you look at the number of sighting reports that are worldwide, 95% of them are in the United States, and another, I don't know, large percentage is in Canada, and another percentage is in England. Now, I don't know about Russia. They're probably not letting a bunch of stuff out over there, but, you know, there's a reason for that. Yeah, you would think that if these things were alien, like some people say, that there would be basically a blanket around the Earth. There would be a blanket of sightings. I mean, if aliens are here abducting people for their DNA, what's so special about the United States? So there's things going on that we just don't know and are not told, and I think our government knows, and they're not telling us. There was a lot of conjecture going on that Hillary Clinton is going to give disclosure, just simply because one of the guys said, "Oh, well, you were talking about UFOs," and then they actually changed the term. Because over the years, you know, you start talking about UFOs. Oh, well, yeah, let me see where your aluminum foil hat is. You know, and so they changed that to UAP. That's not so damaging, but it means the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's easier to say UAP and someone doesn't start laughing. You say UFO and, oh, this guy's a joke, you know. So that's where UAP comes from. But Hillary Clinton's not going to say anything. She doesn't know anything. Donald Trump's not going to say anything because he doesn't know anything. This thing is so top secret, they don't let just anybody know what's going on.
So that kind of goes into that theory of what, a dark government or a government,
yes,
underground
secret
government?
Underground government. Yes, there's I think it's Richard Dolan talks about the not really a secret society, but a separate group of people that are running the show and have all the technology and the secret space program, which that's going to be the theme of our next MUFON symposium, is the secret space programs, which should be very interesting because I'm leaning that way, simply because we know the technology's there, and because of these crashes, and you know, it's not logical to assume that if you have a crashed exotic aircraft that you're going to back engineer the thing, and
right.
And no one's talking about it, so it's a big top secret thing, and I know they're doing it because, like I said, why fly the flying Walmart over the Planet of the Apes with machine guns and stuff that might damage it to where you can't get back home? It's not logical. They could do it from space. So I'm thinking this is mostly our equipment, and I'm not going to rule out that, yes, there are aliens, because this thing we call the universe, I mean, it goes on and on and on. And to think that we are the only ones that are alive, and it's stupid. We're not the only ones. I don't care. No, that's not logical. There is life out there somewhere, and I believe it's visiting us because too many people are coming up with this stuff. And it has the same basic line of thought with it, which means maybe there's one book everybody's reading. I don't know. But I have never seen anything. I wish I could. I'd have a better grip on what's going on, maybe. I don't know. But the aliens are not telling you. Here's what always gets me. I don't know if you've run across this or not, but you hear these people talk about the Pleiadians from the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you heard people talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. Here's my deal on that. We named that star system the Pleiades. We did. after all of these years of being in communication with these people, why haven't they corrected us on what their proper name is? It could be the milk dud system for all we know.
Yeah.
We don't know what they call it, but they are in communication with the Pleiadians. Really.
Well, you know, speaking of them, I actually, when I first started Black Diamond, there was a teacher, a local teacher, contacted me, and she had a little meeting out here at Pizza Hut, and she's a retired school teacher, and she talked about being in contact with these beings, and that they're actually a underground fortress down here in one of these big mountains, and they've been here for 5,000 years. Mm-hmm. And I recorded this, and I listened to her speak, and, you know, I honestly feel she believes what she's saying, but, I mean, you're in a countryside where people farm, hunt, fish, and all that, and nobody's ever seen anything around here. I just kind of find that hard to believe. I'm not saying she's lying.
Well, that's true. There's something she's read that she's convinced about. And, of course, I hear this a lot. I'm in communication with aliens. Really? Good. I want to be in communication with them, too. Put me in communication with one of them. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, we're not friends any longer. You know, these people want to tell you their story, but when you want to interject in on what they're not prepared to do, well, they're gone.
Yep. That's true. Well, you kind of touched on a little bit where he's talking about aliens being around for a while. What do you think about the ancient aliens? I mean, do you believe, or do you even think it's possible that they may have something to do with the evolution of man? You know,
look, I'll tell you what. When I was a little kid, I used to get in trouble a lot. You know, going to church, I was always asking the wrong questions. Like, where's heaven? Oh, well, everybody points up. Okay, where's hell? Everybody points down. All right. Why does God say, let's make man in our image? If there's only one, why do you say our? You know, get in the corner. You don't ask questions like that, you know, that kind of thing. And when I was in school, I would ask questions. I loved the space in school. I loved it. And I was looking at all the planets all lined up and all the orbits. And when you get to this one area here where it's asteroid belt, right, between Mars and Jupiter, I would ask, I said, well, why is this asteroid belt here? What is this? Oh, well, they think it was a planet that didn't form all the way. And I'm sitting there going, well, why did Mars and Jupiter form and that one didn't? Well, we don't have an answer for that. And they get kind of upset. They always get upset when they can't answer your questions. And then later on, we found out, well, if you take all of the mass of the asteroids and put them all together, it's not large enough for a planet to be in that orbit. And if let's see, what's that? I forget the guy's name. He has a mathematical formula for planet development. I forget what it is. But there's supposed to be a planet there, right? Well, all of these questions that I had all my life were answered to me. And it was one book. And it's the 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin. You read that book, and it will answer a lot of your questions. Now, as far as ancient aliens, that's something that I think is 90% conjecture. I mean, they get on these ancient alien shows, and they just kind of, everything is an alien, or it's almost funny. And they see something on the wall, and, oh, it's a porthole, which it's not. So I don't watch the shows unless there's just nothing else to watch. But supposedly, these guys have been here forever. Now, if you read Zecharia Sitchin's book, The 12th Planet, like I said, that answered a lot of my questions. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that book.
No, I'm not.
Yes. Okay.
But I will.
In this book, it is. He has a lot of books. He has a lot of books in a series. But get the one named the 12th planet. It's in paperback. You should be able to go to the library or something and check it out, or maybe go to Amazon and buy it. That's usually what I did last time. But the whole gist of this 12th planet is there's a rogue planet. You've heard of Planet X?
Yes.
That is the 12th planet. Nibiru, Planet X, same thing. It's all the same deal. They just have a different story to it. But the whole premise of the whole thing is there's this planetoid, and it has some moons and things with it, and some say there's a star with it, a dwarf star. There's different descriptions. But it amounts to a couple of planets, one or two, or moons or whatever, come into our system on an elliptical orbit, much like a comet. Come in real close to the sun, make the loop, and go right back out. Well, it just so happens this planet comes into the system between Mars and Jupiter, where this asteroid belt is. Supposedly, in this book, the planet came in there. If 50,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, they didn't really pinpoint it, but it came in there. And one of the moons of this planet hit the planet that was in this orbit and blew off a chunk of it. And that's what the asteroids are in that asteroid belt. And it sent the rest of this planet into the third orbit of our system, which is what? It's the Earth.
Okay.
It's the Earth. Okay? So I'm sitting there going, oh, okay, yeah, yada, yada, yada. But there's people on this planet. And for some reason that we're not really sure about, they mine the gold and the silver on these other planets. And that's why the Mars is all blasted all to crap. But they mine the gold and the silver from the planets and they use it in their atmosphere for protection or whatever. But these people came to Earth once it was developed and started mining the gold and the silver. And supposedly this planet comes around every 3,600 years or 4,000 years. Nobody really knows. I've heard it as much as 20,000 years. But this planetoid is coming around, and it always comes around. So at one point, when they're here mining the gold and the silver, they see these monkeys jumping around in the trees, right? So they say, hey, they actually went on strike because some of them are digging and some of them are not. So this is the way the story goes. The ones digging threw down their shovels and said, forget this. Let's get these monkeys over here, gene splice them, and let them do the work. So that's what they did. Now, that fills in the part here where they said that there's no direct connection because there's a missing link between the apes and the humans. Nobody knows where this missing link is. There's no connection. There's a close connection between the chimpanzee, but there's not a direct one. So this would answer the question about the direct, our direction from them to them. The missing link is the actual DNA of these people on this planet because they mixed it because they were using the women on this planet to be like birthing factories or whatever until they figured out how to get the humans and start cloning them and using them. And at first they fixed it where a man could not reproduce. But after a while they said, forget this. We're going to fix these guys where they can do it on their own. And so what they did, that's when they made Eve, if you want to call it that. So Adam is actually the Adama, the first. And then they kept him in the little Garden of Eden over there so he wouldn't be damaged. So they made him a little wife, and then they made other women. And I always ask questions in church again. So, okay, you have Adam and Eve, right? Yeah. Okay, you have Cain and Abel, right? Yeah. Who'd they marry?
Because when Cain killed Abel, he went to the land of Nod, and that's where he met his wife.
Yeah, where'd they come from?
Yep.
Yeah, I said, where'd they come from? Go to the corner, get the dunce cap on, all this, because they couldn't answer the question. They say, well, they came from the other tribes. What tribes?
What? Man,
there's only Adam and Eve. There's Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
Now, you see, I did radio for 5 years, and I got to talk with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this one guy told me he was a preacher. He said, "Okay, here's my take on it." He said Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden because of one thing. And I said, yeah, they ate the apple. He said, no, that's part of it. Here's what happened. He said the devil, which is the snake or the serpent or whatever, he came over to Eve, and he said the apple of knowledge and whether that he taught her was sex. I'm going, okay. And she went to Adam and showed Adam what sex was all about. And he said the reason I say that, because I can prove it, is because when you go down the line, the lineage, the second kid is where they talk about that's where it started. They don't go with the first kid. They go with the second one. And the reason they don't go with the first one is because the first one wasn't the bloodline. It was Satan's child.
Oh.
Isn't that a weird twist?
That's a new spin on it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's why they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, because they knew about sex and they're just like anybody else. So, hey, get on out. Out you go. So, you can take this stuff with a grain of salt, but it all sounds pretty good to me. But here, I want you to look up something. It puts more perspective in it when you look it up. Look up, do a search on the internet of planet Earth without water. And look at that photograph, that picture, artist conception with no water. And it will really put a perspective on you, because, you look at Mars, there's no water. It's almost a perfect sphere. All of the planets are basically a perfect sphere. There's no water on them. But when you look at the planet Earth, it looks like a gnarled up potato. It looks like something's been blasted off of it. And it puts a new perspective to you when you see that. Just, So read that book.
Oh, I will.
Also, Abraham, the guy that's the Lord of the one that's the creator of the religion, Abraham. He came from the land of Ur, right?
Mm-hmm.
The land of Ur is Iraq. Puts new perspective on why they raided Iraq. Some people say, well, they went into the museums and were getting all of the stuff in the museums there for some reason. And a lot of things did come up missing. But what for? I mean, what's in this museum over there that's ancient that somebody wanted? But anyway, land of Ur is Iraq. And that's where the Sumerians came from. And the Sumerians are the first civilization after the flood. And that's where all of these tablets that Zechariah Sitchin has been, well, he's dead now. But that's the tablets. They're not really tablets. They're scrolls, and you roll them out on the clay, and then you read them. But that's where all of this 12th planet business comes from. The Sumerians had all of this knowledge, and a lot of people would look at that knowledge that they had, and they say, oh, it's just hocus pocus, and you can't go by all of that stuff. These people, they didn't know what was going on. They're goat herders, but no. They knew about all of this stuff, and they knew about the gods, and they knew about the gold. They knew about they know all of this stuff. That's where it came from. And so everybody poo-poos it, but I think it's a lot of truth to it. The evidence is right there in front of your face. But we won't know until the planet comes back down. So here we go.
See, that's what I wonder about the Satan and the fallen angels. And where they talk about the giants that followed when they started having sex with human female. I mean, to me, that sounds more, in my opinion, the story of that sounds more like an alien type thing than a godly or ungodly thing. Yes.
Now I got a question for you. You always hear, this got me in trouble in church too. God can do anything, right?
Right.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Can he make a rock so heavy that he can't pick it up?
I'm sure he could.
Then he can't do everything. If he can't pick it up, he can't do everything. And if he can't make it so heavy that he can't pick it up, he can't do anything.
This is what I always throw. What I throw at everybody is that, God, knows the future, knows the past, present, so forth, and you don't even the number of hairs on your head. Then he knew when he created Lucifer and the angels that rebelled against him that they would, and he knew when he created man that we would, fall out on him. So why create
Yes.
it?
Yeah. Why even start to begin with?
Yeah. And who is God? Is there, does God have parents? Is there another God above him? I mean,
You read that book and it explains all of it. Read that book. I'm serious. It explains it all.
I got poo-pooed in the corner a lot. What they'd always tell me is like, you shouldn't ask these questions. These answers will come to you in time. And I'm like,
I've heard that before too. That's right. I've been, yes. I had to quit going to church. I was getting in trouble all the time.
I did too. I had to. And and my dad, he was real religious, and my mom, and when I'd ask these questions, my dad would sit there with his pipe in his mouth because he only had 6th grade education, but he'd look at me and he'd like, "How the hell do you come up with this? What makes you think like this?" I'm like, "Dad, all you got to do is take a step back and look at the bigger picture."
Well, yeah, you step back and look at it for a minute.
Well, we're running a little bit out of time. I mean, we're down to about 3 minutes. So, Steve, you got any projects you're working on for next year? And plus, I want to add,
man,
I got to get you back on the show so we didn't even cover nearly everything I wanted to. Because this is such I love interviews like this.
I printed out 16 pages of notes here, and I haven't even got through a couple of them. But that's. Well, I'm always working on projects. At the moment, I am. We're constantly in training. It's just a never-ending thing here, and the biggest thing I'm trying to do is get organized, basically, because we, with the help of Dave McDonald and his initiative for the intercontinental part of the world, we're trying to get everybody on board worldwide. And so what I want to do is get everybody on the same page. That's everybody using the same forms and everybody having the same kind of training. And we have MUFON University now where we can go take courses. It doesn't cost anything. And we have these new forms and things. And I have actually been pulling teeth trying to get the field investigators to use these forms for the last year. And it's just not going the way I want to go. And, everybody's volunteers. You can't push too much. And I've always said that when you're walking on eggs, don't hop. And so we don't do that. But I'm working on that endeavor to get everybody basically organized on the same page. And it's slowly coming around, which is really cool. But I have developed a method to where I'm evaluating all the state directors and all the field investigators, and I'm putting the numbers to it. And I learned that during Little League Baseball. When you're doing a manager, you put numbers to everything, and it starts making sense. And so that's what I'm doing, and I'm evaluating them that way. And I can tell when they're really investigating and when they're really not, because these numbers show up. But I'm constantly working on that. It takes a long time. I put it all on an Excel sheet and automated a lot of it. And if I thought about printing it out, and I said, how many pages is this up? I put up there and I said, okay, print, and it tells you how many pages. I was up to like about 416 pages. I said, forget that. I'm not printing that out. But so I just printed out like 3 or 4 pages of it and make a report out of it. But that's the kind of thing I'm working on. And people have shown me photographs, and then they said, well, what do I need to do about this case? And, well, this guy called me, and I need to get back with them. And then I have state directors and field investigators. They call me up for questions and guidance on things and how to do this, because I'm a rule and regulation guy, and we do not deviate from those rules and regulations. That's just the way I am. I'm sorry.
Well, we're down to 40 seconds, so if you got any contact information, just shoot it out real quick.
I'm on Facebook. That's the best way to find me is on Facebook, Steve Hudgeons Jr. Or if you want to email me, it's doi@mufon.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay, Steve.
I would give out my phone number, but I don't know.
all the women be calling you.
Oh my God! You should see all the. Well, I'm not even going to go there, but I have a lot of people wanting friend me on Facebook that are like 20 years old, 25 years old, 21 years old, and then skimpy little outfits, and I just block them immediately. No, they're not for me. But anyway.
Well,
hey, it was good being here.
I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we'll have to do this again here soon, because I'm really interested and really want to follow up with a lot more. And you've opened my eyes up to a lot of stuff that I appreciate that.
Okay, good. Just get a hold of me and holler at me, and then we'll get back on.
Okay. You have a good one, bud.
Okay, good deal. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Yo, everybody get up! Everybody get up! Everybody needs to understand that I'm more than simply a hype man for this rap group. Just like Geico is more than just a company that can save you money. Geico also has fast and friendly claim service, so they can help you when you need it most. And while I do love being a hype man, I also love reading for children's audiobooks. Like Little Bo Peep, she lost the sheep, and she don't know where to find them. Yo!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.